getting close to 10 years ago, I approached Dr. McKeon about an idea I had of utilizing an old abandoned car dealership across the street from the college and seeing if that could become a physical therapy clinic that would provide services to the community, utilizing our students as those that would provide the care. So after Dr. McKeon said, Suzanne, I think that's a great idea. How should we proceed? I took a sabbatical in 2008 and spent 4 months kind of developing a business plan for the clinic, how it would fit into the community, what resources would we need as a community college, and how would we implement the plan with the staff we had, and would we need additional staff to make it all happen. At that point, the Board of Regents approved the purchase of the building, which was I think it was a Jeep dealership building, purchased the building, and we started a major fundraising campaign to raise over $1 million in order to be able to renovate the building in a satisfactory way. It's an interesting story when I visited with Dr. McKeon because we are accredited every 10 years and we were meeting about our accreditation. And I said to Dr. McKeon, I can absolutely promise you we will be accredited again. But the sad thing would be is if 10 years from now we were doing the very same thing as we were doing now. And so that was why looking at this clinic and imagining us doing something kind of off the charts and very unique to any other physical therapist assistant program in the country, that we were so excited about the impact of this clinic. I'm excited about the impact not only will it have on the community, but we can already see such a maturity in our students and a lot of excitement, and that they are applying the classroom principles so much faster because they leave the classroom, go immediately to the clinic, and their dialogue and their conversations are now talking about how can I treat Mr. So-and-so or my patient this afternoon in a much better way. The Nate Waters Clinic was definitely my baby and my dream, and with a lot of hard work from a lot of individuals, we were able to make it happen.
Hello and welcome. Today we are broadcasting from the Thomas McKeon Center for Creativity at Tulsa Community College on the Metro campus. I'm Melanie Heffington, and I'm a professor here in the Physical Therapist Assistant Program. Today we are discussing the Nate Waters Physical Therapy Clinic. The Nate Waters PT Clinic is a pro bono physical therapy clinic providing services to those in the Tulsa and surrounding areas. But it also has another purpose. It offers our students in the Physical Therapist Assistant Program a unique service learning opportunity. Today we have with us second-year students from the Physical Therapist Assistant Program. Derek, Holly, Madison, Brian, Keely, Sarah, and Marcus. Welcome everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. So first I would like for you guys to describe the Nate Waters PT Clinic and the effect it's had on your learning process in the PTA program.
It's been instrumental in our learning as far as getting hands-on with patients and kind of getting a real life view of how it is out there treating patients. It's different than just in lecture or learning out of a book, so it's just given us a lot of different scenarios and conditions to where we can see things, live and brainstorm and work through that just to help us prepare for, real life. So.
Yeah, our particular job is centered very closely around patient care. I mean, that's what it really is. And so we spend a lot of time in the school working with books, and the Nate Waters Clinic gives us a chance, like he said, to actually work with patients. And that is invaluable in building our skills and making us prepared so when we go out to get a job, we'll have that much more to offer.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to just immediately take what you learn in class and walk into the clinic and see a patient and like, oh, I know what to do. I can, try to help or find something you have a better idea and new skills that you can practice.
We can read about it and see it, but once you see it in the clinic, it's like, oh, this is what that actual disease is, or
That
you know,
light bulb.
yeah. So it's great to actually get to experience it with the patients and not just read about it and actually get to see it.
Yeah, it's too easy to memorize, facts in a book, read a chapter, take a test over theory, and then once you actually get your hands on with the patient, I think it's priceless. It's you remember more by doing than you actually do by reading.
Okay, great. In what ways do you feel more prepared to enter the physical therapy profession after your experiences in the clinic?
Oh, just experience with the patients. It makes you more confident when you walk, because a lot of times when you walk with a patient, there's a standoff kind of feeling because you don't have that confidence yet, and you learn that most of the time on the job. We get that before we ever go out. So we walk into especially with our clinical rotations, we immediately have a lot more confidence that we bring, and all the CIs have always told us how well the TCC program prepares the PTA students for becoming a PTA when we get out.
I think it's also helped us with documentation and just legal stuff, and working with physical therapists and seeing what that relationship really looks like out in the clinic, and not just what we read about as well.
Yeah, we get to watch like PT's eval and also get to treat the patient. So it's like the whole shebang.
You kind of with the whole process from start to finish. Yeah.
And it gives us an edge as far as when we get out there and we're looking for our career job, and we have the experience with patients already. Not just in our rotations, but also in the clinic. And it's just the more the merrier.
You bet. You bet. So describe how clinical education is different than book learning and lectures.
Yeah, that's my meat and taters.
Yeah.
It's been working. I thought therapeutic exercise 2, with all the neuro stuff that we're going to be going over, was going to be so much more difficult because taking Jeff's neurological science class was such a handful, and I was so intimidated by all that book learning. And then being able to take what we've learned and then being able to apply it with neurological patients in the clinic has been crazy awesome. Working with the stroke patients, working with traumatic brain injury patients, seeing them progress over a course of weeks and months compared to, okay, in 6 to 8 weeks this patient should get better. How do they get better? What makes them better? And that's just been insanely awesome.
When you take kinesthetic learners like myself, it's it's hard to just read a book and get it. So when you have that hands-on, you're there with the patient, you can see it, you can ask questions, you have your supervisor, your PT, your teacher there, and it's definitely just awesome to help
You got to
us
remember,
learn.
up
ramp
until
us up.
now, we just work with our fellow students as patients. So we've had to all learn how to be actors.
Yeah.
So you have this
Doing our
disease,
best.
now become that disease or
Right.
whatever it is. And
Right.
so to actually have a live person that you can see, and you don't have to pretend. You see exactly how they come in, you see what deficits they have almost as they're walking through the clinic to you. And you can immediately begin processing that and start figuring out how to treat them. And so it's just,
It's great.
it's amazing.
And we can read about the diseases, but they're never how it comes out on
Sure.
the
Right.
book.
It's not
you
Yeah, I
know?
think diagnoses become very textbook and very rigid, and being able to see patients in the clinic, you realize not everyone is going to, have the same.
Look that way. And then, of course, there are
Right.
those folks that have multiple diagnoses,
Right.
and then you see them, and that it paints just such a more complex, rich picture, I'm sure.
And no two patients are the same. It's they can come in both be post-stroke patients, and something's different there.
Sure.
You learn from that. You take a textbook and say everyone's going to be in this cookie cutter way. It's just not that way. So gives us that experience, and that's awesome.
And that could be aggravating sometimes when you're going through the book learning, is you want, how is it yes or no?
Yeah.
What's the answer?
Right.
And then you realize with patients that sometimes there is no just one answer. It's catered to that patient. And you don't get that until you see the patient or you're on clinical rotations. But with the clinic, you get that way beforehand.
That's
And it just prepares you so much
I
more.
think my problem solving has definitely increased since being in the clinic, just because we don't have to wait for our long clinical rotations to be able to go in there and meet patients. And then you're in that situation where this is real life. Not to say the clinic's not real life, but you're not there. And I don't have 2 other students with me to, hey, my problem solving needs to be, where it needs to be to take care of the patient in the real world. And that's been very important.
I think something that has really been helpful is not just the patient aspect, but I think the administration of how to actually work as a PTA with other PTAs, and like Maddie was saying, with other PTs, and how to schedule, how to work in between different people's schedules, how to operate as a team to help the patient, but with each other. And that prepares you for going to a clinic where you have multiple PTAs, OTs, speech, and you have to go in there and figure out how to work within this machine and get everything done. And that's invaluable, especially for a lot of the students that may be younger and haven't had a lot of work experience, that they need that kind of experience doing that. It's great.
I think for me, the biggest thing that's helped me with the clinic is learning how to interact with my patients. And I think a lot of times when patients come in, they need more than just the therapy we can offer them. And they have different attitudes, they have different outlooks on life, they have different outlooks on what their diagnosis is. And some of them aren't confident, some of them are real gung-ho about it. But I think for me, just learning how to be appropriate with them and how to react to what they're really saying and just being able to listen to them has been an awesome experience for me.
Great. Could you describe some of the life roles of the patients that you've seen in the clinic and how you've used therapy to help them return to those life roles?
Well, we have a patient, I believe, who works with his hands a lot, and he's really intent on getting back to doing that. And so we've been able to help him reach closer to that goal. I mean, maybe getting there may not be exactly where we're going to go, but he has the opportunity, that we can give him. And if he may not get back to the role, going back to work, he can at least use his hands at home, fulfill his life in other roles, because a lot of times when patients come in, they have a life role that changes because of what happens to them. And then they have to learn how to adapt and change their life so it's still fulfilling, so they can still have a long, fruitful life. And so the stuff we do at the Nate Waters Clinic has helped a lot of patients fill that gap that they may have lost because of their injury or what happened to them.
I have I can't say my favorite patient because they're all, I've worked with this patient the most, and he suffered from a cardiovascular accident or stroke. And his life roles before going into the clinic were very minimalized after his accident. And he liked to ride he had a motorcycle. He liked to ride his motorcycle. He liked to cook. He couldn't cook anymore. There was just so much that he wasn't able to do that he was used to. And he came to us, he was very borderline depressed. He was very down about himself. He had a wife who worked all the time. He's also a dad, and so he's got a young son who he needs to be there for, and he felt that after having his stroke he wasn't able to do any of that. And we have remarkably been able to increase his functional capacity in his home, ambulating in the environment. He's able to drive now, and that's amazing. He's back at work part-time now, and he's able to help be in his eyes be more of a man and provide for his family. And that was what was important to him, and so that's what we did for him.
And how does that make you guys feel when you help someone return to life roles or fuller
That's
engagement?
what it's all
I
about.
think that's why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely rewarding because
people,
that's the main reason I think we're all here is to help people and help them get back to a functional lifestyle, to be able to enjoy the things that we enjoy every day. So it's definitely rewarding.
I mean, it's not only that, we also have pediatric patients that come through. So we don't only get adults, we get children that we get to work with, which is a huge experience. And for them, the life roles may not be working, holding a job, being a good mother or dad. It's just to play and to have fun. And so, I mean, that's just another aspect of some of the things that we're able to do, is just give people a fulfilling life.
Holly, anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, I was going to mention the pediatric patients. Like, it's nice to have them come in, and we just play, and to them it's fun, and they enjoy coming, and they look forward to it. And the parents that we've talked to are all just so excited, and they love coming, and it's great to hear the feedback that they like to come, and they feel like that we're doing a good job, and that their kids are improving, and it's good, yeah.
And the
really
kids
good.
don't know when you're playing with them, you're actually gaining extension. You're reaching those goals. You're going for those goals, but you don't tell the kid, hey, we're going to go for extension here. It's let's play, but we're going to put you in positions and manipulate certain ways you're standing or crawling to gain that extension to reach those goals. So it's kind of you have to think outside the box a little bit with the kids, but we have some great students that have worked.
I think it's a win-win situation too for everyone. I know I've had several patients comment on how important the clinic is to them and how much it's helped them progress. And I know myself, I feel the same way. It's helped my education, my career path, and so I think it's a win-win.
Sometimes at the clinic I will get a glimpse of how the patients feel in being a part of your education and helping you understand what has happened to them, in that will go on forever, that the next 5 patients you see will be better because of the patient you saw at the clinic. Do you get a sense of how that dual relationship is between you as the student and the patient, how you're both teachers in a way?
Absolutely.
All the time.
We have a parent that brings their daughter in, and we had some issues with scheduling with 2 students with the one, and we wanted to work with 1 student with her daughter to just give more hands-on, and she just completely understood. She's like, yeah, whatever you guys need to do, it's almost like a partnership between them coming and us learning, and we all understand what's happening. And they can also be forgiving, because for us, we're learning. So we may not have the same handling techniques or the experience that a seasoned veteran PTA would, but we're learning, and they see that, and especially when they come in and 3 or 4 sessions later, we're so much better, and they see it, and they appreciate it.
They're very invested in your progress, for sure.
And I think we're more willing to kind of experiment, since we aren't sure. Like, we're going to try things that maybe other therapists wouldn't try or wouldn't think to try, and I think that a lot of the patients that come in, like, that excites them. It's like, oh, I've never done that. Like,
They get that,
yeah.
yeah.
And with our education also, I think asking questions in the clinic helps educate the patient, like things that they didn't know or didn't want to ask, or we'll ask because we feel
need to
comfortable
know,
enough
right,
to ask.
to ask, yeah.
And if they don't, then I think it helps educate them as well.
Maddie and I have been working with a 3-year-old, and we have a lot of equipment over there that a lot of places don't have. So we've gotten to put her up in the anti-gravity and simulate her walking, and we've got to use what's the treadmill thing that with the
Body weight.
Body weight support.
We've got to get people up and moving and put weight through their legs that they haven't got to experience in a long time.
And as students, we may not have the handling to do that without that equipment.
Right.
So we may not be comfortable with that unless we had it. And then we put them in a system like that, and it removes a lot of the fear. So we can concentrate on learning and not worry so much about making mistakes, which just goes so much towards building our skill set and our confidence.
I think that's another thing too, is working in the clinic with our professors, and we're comfortable with that, and I think it allows us to let our guard down a little bit and just really learn in a safe environment.
And not be afraid to ask questions. I think that's one thing that as a professor in the program I've really enjoyed is I may share something in lecture, but then we go and we see a patient and I'll say, look, that did really work, and it's nice for me too, because I feel like I can say, hey, Brian, put your hands here, and we know each other. We have that past experience, so it really cuts through all the getting to know you right at the start of a clinical education experience, or you can come to me and say, Melanie, this isn't working, what do I need to do? And we all know that this is just a safe place to learn and just such a rich
There's times I've looked at some of the PTs and I could just make a look or a nod, and they know, what.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll put your hands
help
here.
here,
I'm like, what do I do?
Right.
And a lot of times if you're in a clinical rotation, some of those are job interviews. I mean, you're going and you're trying to promote your best face. You want to do your best because you're looking to get work, afterwards. And so that can present a barrier to just being open
Right.
and just letting yourself say, look, I need your help. What do I do? And, that
Well-
clinic makes that easy.
Well, and I also think, at this point, you all are second year students that are about to graduate from the program, and we've have so much time invested together. So, having that 2-year long relationship where I know where you're coming from and what you've learned, and I think it makes it easier for me to read your minds when you do send me the look, and I'm like, oh yeah, come here, this is what we need to do. So, anything else that you guys would like to share about your experiences at Nate Waters?
Just the environment inside the clinic is so much more less threatening than I thought it was going to be. And threatening may not be the best adjective to use.
Intimidating, for sure.
Intimidating is
Yeah.
better, yes, because it's just you're working with people with real diagnoses who really need your help, and just going in there and just working with them is just great.
And you have the support of your, your classmates, your instructors, and we really work as a team well, I think. And it, not only the experience, it's just it has that balance between a relaxed kind of family environment and professional. So when you have the best of both worlds there, it's just you can't get that anywhere else. So
There are some students that may not understand exactly really what they're going to be doing. They join the program because they want to help, they know it's a good profession, but they may not have had a lot of experience being a therapist. They may have went to therapy, but as a dad who's been to therapy quite a bit with my daughter, it's a different aspect of being the patient or the parent than being the actual therapist. So to go and to get that clinical experience early on, you begin to build a knowledge for what you're going to do, and then you become inspired to work hard because it's something that you really want. You can get discouraged with a lot of the hard class work, but after the first rotation, it was like an energizing thing. You go and you come back, you're like, yes, this is what I want to do.
This is what I want to do.
This is awesome.
yeah.
And then you get that at the clinic every day.
Yeah.
You walk out of there, even though you've been there till 5:30, and you're like, yes.
This is
That was
very
awesome.
reaffirming that you
Very
made the right
rewarding.
choice.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's me every week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings are academics and testing and studying, and Thursday afternoons and Fridays are fun for me. They're a time to play, but I learn so much, but it's definitely like playtime.
I would definitely
So
choose the
fun.
clinic over book organization. I'm sure everybody would agree.
Anything else you guys have to offer?
No, we're just thankful that we have it. We thought we didn't know if we were going to be the class that was going to get to experience, and we were keeping our fingers crossed, knocking on wood, and we were excited about it. A little intimidated at first because we knew
guinea
there'd
pigs.
be some
Guinea
growing
pigs.
pains and
Yeah.
stuff,
Sure.
but just experiencing it now, it's definitely, we're so
I don't-
excited that we had that experience. I think it really
How many
helped us.
clinical instructors we see or people in the profession that we tell them about the clinic and they're like, you have what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get to do what? I know,
Yeah.
well, I see patients Tuesdays and Thursdays and
Yeah.
then Wednesdays if I can and Fridays.
Right.
And they're like, really? And it's just an
get to a
amazing
whole-
thing because no one else has that.
Right.
Oh,
right.
no one. We do.
And of all diagnoses and age groups too, because you mentioned the pediatric patients and patients that are geriatric, and the orthopedic patients and patients with neurological problems. So it's a wide variety of patients.
Yeah, and it gives you the experience to, like you said, you see all these different diagnoses, and you don't really know if you want to go into orthopedics or pediatrics, and then you kind of get that experience, and you might have thought one way in the beginning, and then now you're like, well, I kind of like geriatrics or whatever, and just
Sure.
kind of opens your mind up to other things. So.
Now, thinking about it, and this, I don't know why I didn't just think about it till now, but I was a patient at the clinic, and earlier in the year, I was training for my first 5K, and I was having some knee dysfunction, and so I filled out my application, and Melanie contacted me, scheduled my eval, and with the new law in Oklahoma for the
Direct access.
direct access, I was able to see Melanie for 30 days, and my knee dysfunction is completely resolved. She taught me a home exercise program. I still do them at home. It's just, it literally help me. I was in so much pain, so much swelling, and it was gone. So
It's almost like a family. I mean, I bring my daughter up on Fridays. We can just play, or I'll drop her off with one of the patients or the students and say, have fun with her. And they're like, if you met my daughter. But yeah, but I mean, really, it's almost like a family. I love it up there. And it's such a different experience in a classroom. You know, in a classroom, there's not a lot of room to just become friends and really bond with people. And I think we have.
Well, and I've certainly noticed that you all have taken on peer teaching and peer mentoring. You know, and when I go into the lunchroom and you're heating up your lunch, I can hear you talk about patients instead of like, what answer did you put on the test, and which are all important things as well in their own right. But it's nice to hear you develop as professionals and talk about patients and say, well, I've tried this before. Have you ever tried this? Or what do you think about this? This is the reason why I want to do that. So it's exciting for us too.
And I love that. Like, we can go, to other students and, like, did you work with this patient last week? What did you do? What worked? What didn't work? And we can all brainstorm and we can get ideas. I think that's great.
Can you explain what this means?
Can you,
what is that?
Because
we get something like, oh, the PT. They don't. What does that mean? And now we're like, oh, that means this. So we have a lot more, forgiveness.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we understand now.
Okay. Anything else that anybody wants to offer?
I just love being at the clinic. I think it's a very happy, upbeat, lively place, and everybody comes in and they're excited, and patients and students. And I think because we are so excited, I think that feeds into the patients' excitement, gets them motivated, and everybody just comes in ready to go.
Go ahead.
I think it's great that we've got to meet a lot of families through this too. Like, we not only interact with the patient, but we interact with the families, and we learn how to talk with them and how to understand
what the role of the caregiver
and what they're going through, because they're experiencing stuff too.
Sure.
Yeah, usually after a class, it's just hit the road. Now it's like, well, what's going on at the clinic? Let's go see who's over there. I mean, because you never know. You could walk in and there may be someone having therapy, and they look over and say, come over here and grab a leg, help us real quick. And you just drop your stuff and you just run in there and you just start helping. I mean, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're learning at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very rich experiences.
It's really, there's not, couldn't say enough about it, because it builds teamwork. We trust in each other. We all, realize if you're struggling in one area that you're not the only one struggling, because somebody else is too. So you're, it kind of puts you all on the same playing field, and you can use your strengths and help each other, and then you're helping the community and people get back to, normal function, and that's, what it's about anyway. So.
Without the clinic, I don't think I would feel as confident as I do. I definitely would not feel as prepared going out into the field. I feel ready to conquer the PTA world.
Well, great. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing your experiences at the Nate Waters Physical Therapy Clinic. We very much appreciate your openness today and sharing all of those experiences. And that wraps us up for today. So if you would like any more information about the Nate Waters Physical Therapy Clinic, you can call 918-595-3423 or nate.waters@tulsacc.edu. Thank you.